All right.
Welcome to this meeting of the Norwood Library Board of Trustees for the purposes of discussing the candidates for the library director position. I'm John Hall, the chair of the board. You'll see me on a phone because that's the life I've chosen. And I'm going to pass things over to Bernie Lynch to work us through this meeting.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I think that I guess the easiest way to start this is that actually, before we get too far into this, let me record. Thank you, John. And as you stated, this is the meeting of the Norwood Board of Library Trustees, and you're going to be discussing and potentially selecting the new library director today. On last week, you had interviews with three candidates, Jamie Viveros, Clayton Cheever, and Peter Strazzero. So those were your three candidates. We conducted roughly hour to 75 minutes, 60 to 75 minute interviews, I believe, with each of the candidates over a variety of topics. You've had an opportunity for almost a week now to, or for a number of days to consider the candidates. And I think the best way for you to proceed today is for each of you to provide your thoughts regarding the candidates. I think what we're focusing on is who would be the best fit for the Morrow library. And so I guess we need someone to step out front here and provide some initial thoughts. But Sarah, it looks like you may have a question.
I do have a question. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this since we met and interviewed the candidates last week. And looking over the agenda, the question I have is on the order of events for the agenda. And I was curious about what the actual procedure can be, needs to be, in terms of if each of us have already come in here with a candidate that we feel would be the strongest fit, what is the balance that is required between discussion and simply starting off with putting each of our best candidate forward, and if we all agree,
you're done.
We've got to. I don't know. I'm curious.
Well, there's nothing. There's no formal process legally that needs to be followed here. That is one possibility. You could each step forward and say that you have a choice, that you've reviewed it and you support candidate A, B, or C. And then if someone has the majority of support or unanimous support, then you could move forward in that way. And there really wouldn't be any other action needed. I have seen that occur on a few occasions. Usually there is some type of discussion of why, what you feel about each one of the candidates. Certainly, one possibility would be a blend of the two, perhaps. So you could explain, you could say that, Sarah, for instance, you could step forward and say that you support candidate A for these reasons. And in that sense, you're starting a discussion of the qualities that you saw in that candidate. And that's the basis of your decision. Someone else may choose candidate B, and when they state their opinions as to why, then they've interacted with your points, and a discussion is now underway. So that may be rather than go through, Sarah, to your point, rather than going through an exercise of saying what you liked about each one, you simply focus on the one you want and why you feel that they're the best fit. And at the end of that process, if there's some sense of consensus, then your work is done. John?
I think I would prefer to have something that has more than just an expression of first choice. And my reasons for this are that even if we instantly discover that we have a consensus, there are a lot more people than us who need to be comfortable with and understand our reasons for the selection. I'm thinking of the town management. I'm thinking of the staff and just people in general who have a strong interest in the library. So I think I like the idea of going through each of us and saying, here are my thoughts not only on the candidates, but on what we're trying to accomplish and the fit between the two. And that's why I picked so-and-so, or that's why I'm still uncertain. That is also possible and likely to occur with at least one of us. Sarah, does that sound reasonable to you?
I guess I'm looking back on my experience when we selected the current director, and in that process, while it was an open meeting, it wasn't necessarily something being recorded word for word, broadcast, and maintained intact in perpetuity. And this is a very different format to have it as a recorded, replayed meeting moving forward. Obviously, we are hoping that we will come to a consensus for a particular candidate. I'm just extremely mindful of the fact that we need to proceed very carefully because these are careers of people who are very well valued in their field. And I guess that whole side of why a particular candidate is not the best fit for our library in each of our opinions is the side that I am more concerned about. And again, if we have consensus from the beginning that we're narrowing it in between the two top candidates that all of us are in support of, or it comes out from the very beginning that we all support the same candidate, I am not as compelled that we need to go through every single one of the candidates. But that is my opinion.
This is always a challenge with the open meeting law here in Massachusetts. My own opinion is that when it comes to hiring people for these positions, the taxpayers are not necessarily well served because sometimes you don't get candidates because of this process. But in any event, that would be your suggestion, Sarah, is one that I think certainly has some merit. John?
A lot of the thinking I've been doing over the last 24 hours has pointed me toward a discussion in which, in the process of saying why we like somebody else, we can also be describing strengths of the other candidates that would make them a good fit for a library that's looking for a different fit. So I feel like the concerns of not quite good enough that you're laying out, Sarah, can be addressed by saying not the best for us, but if you recognize your library in this list of strengths for other people, then they might be your first choice if you came to that position. Maybe I'm naive to think that it will come across that way to third parties, but that's why my feeling is that a bit of brief discussion of reasons would be in our interest, but it's been going as a dialogue between you and me, so I'd like to hear what the other members of the board think about our process here.
Marguerite?
Hi, John and Sarah. Thank you both for your point of view. They're both great, but I feel that the three candidates were brought forward from a large number of applicants, a large number of people that applied for this position. And these three came out as very strong candidates. And anybody that would look to see at them would know that they were strong contenders for the position. And they got here because they stood on their own merit, on their references, on their resumes, on their interviews. I don't think that we need to make comparisons at this point. I think we should talk about, as we were directed and guided, I think we should talk about the positivity of the person that we are selecting in our, individually have made a selection. Talk about the positivity of that person and share that if we don't have a consensus about who we want to be the director. But I don't feel that making comparisons about all of the applicants, all of the candidates at this time is going to serve anybody. Anybody that is looking to see who, any other library that is looking for a director can look to see that these people made the final cut at Norwood. That speaks of itself. That stands alone, that they came this far. They can also go to the community news and the Norwood community media and look at the last interview, and they can see just what we saw, and they can take from it what they want. They have the chance to deliberate just as we did, and I don't think that at this point in this period of time that we have to talk together, we should be discussing that. And when you do comparisons, it's a pro and a con. And we were asked not to do any cons today. So I would like to go forward with positivity about the selections that we have in our mind about who is the best fit for the new director for Norwood. So I agree with Sarah.
Donna and George, want to weigh in at all, or?
Yes, I agree with Marguerite and Sarah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think, when you put it that way, Marguerite, it does make sense. I mean, I agree with you. I think the last thing, since this is open, we to have those real nitty-gritty discussions about what our personal, views are on each of these individuals really won't serve any purpose here. And I know we've all been wrestling with, each candidate, and and I, also to your point, Marguerite, I've felt very comfortable moving forward because I think we have three very strong candidates, and I think that, to our, to our good fortune, that moving forward here, regardless of our selection, I feel that we're going to be in good hands and that we're going to be able to, move forward as a library. And I think we have, had a large pool to select from, and then we've whittled it down. So I think I would be interested in moving forward and seeing where all of our minds are, and then if we require further discussion on candidates, then so be it.
Okay. Well, there seems to be consensus on this. Who wants to, John, are you all set with that now?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Who would like to start off our discussion? Sarah?
Let me suggest that the people who were on the steering committee, who've seen more of the candidates than Donna and I have, should go first.
Okay. How about doing this alphabetically?
Interesting choice.
Would you like to do reverse alphabetically? So, Sarah, would you like to start us off?
I would be fine with that. Out of the three candidates, again, as we've all stated, all three candidates were very strong. I agree completely with George that we put these three forward to the higher level of interviews because we felt that they each had a lot that they could offer to the Morrow Memorial Library. But I would say that after the amount of time that I've had to deliberate and read back through my notes from both of the sets of interviews, that my top candidate that I would put forward would be Clayton Cheever. I feel that his work with the literacy program is something that is very meaningful, and we need to hit the ground running with that one. I feel that he is strong in community outreach and wanting to make sure that the library is an integral part of the community, and being that forward-facing individual. I feel that the community that he's coming from has given him the opportunity to focus strongly on inclusiveness with a wide range of different backgrounds that I feel is representative of the sort of environment that we have here in Norwood. And I feel confident that his technology and forward thinking would make him, in my opinion, my top choice for the new director of the Morrow Memorial Library.
All right. Using the same alphabetical process, I guess we go to Marguerite.
Okay. I would like to say that it's been a pleasure and an honor being on this committee and having this very precious job of trying to fulfill the obligation of installing a new director into the Morrow Memorial Library. It's a job that we've taken on very seriously, and we've worked very hard as a committee, all of us, all five of us, trying to grapple with this. My candidate going forward for director of the library is Clayton Cheever. Clayton showed a passion and an excitement about libraries that I didn't see in any of the other candidates. He spoke eloquently about his managerial and leadership skills. And while some people, the questions that Bernie asked him about how do you make your staff make the patrons feel welcome, how do you provide safety in your library, while those were not library science questions, they keyed in on his management and leadership qualities, and he answered them fully. And he was able to do that without skipping a beat. He works in Quincy. It's a very diverse population. There's a socioeconomic strain in that city. There's a high crime area in that city, certainly higher than Norwood. And so they face a lot of different issues than we face here. The library is used by people that see it as their living room, and some of the people that use it don't have a living room. They don't have a home. So they need to be, as he said, they need to be let in, invited in, welcomed in, and sometimes they need to be, how did he put it? They need to be, they need enforcement about the rules. And he said, that he has instructed his staff over and over, and he has set up policies and committees within his staff to make sure that they know how to handle any situation that comes up. He didn't wait for a situation to come up and then handle it and then go back and say whether it was done well or not. He has them ahead of time. The outreach departments, the outreach things that, the outreach programs that he put up, that he developed, and he did develop them. He developed the August Moon Committee, not just for the library, but for the whole city. He works with the criminal department, the justice department, He brought the social work into the library. So all of those things are important to the community of Quincy, and he will bring that passion, I'm sure, into the community of Norwood. He has that knowledge base. I loved that about him. I loved that he didn't wait for things to happen, that he had the vision to put things in place before problems arose. And I also liked that he worked at the Boston Public Library from 2010 to 2013. One of the references he got was from the president of the Boston Public Library. That says something about how he leaves a sustaining impression on somebody. That David Leonard wrote a reference on him, and I don't know what part of the references that page that we got from Bernie didn't say who wrote what, but everything that was written on that reference page was written with high esteem. So his references were good. He interviewed well. He spoke with an enthusiasm that was second to none. And I would like to see him installed as the director of the library, the Morrow Memorial Library that we all love and honor.
George?
Thanks, Bernie. Yeah, I also really found this to be an enlightening experience. When I first thought about joining the board, I didn't realize that Charlotte was planning on retiring. So I found myself in a situation here having to accelerate my learning. But as we examined all the candidates from the large group and then started to narrow our focus, I found that in my experience, primarily being a patron and then coming into the library, that it seems that there's, as with so many positions, there are the technical side of things, the management side of things, and then there are the ethereal qualities that are often hard to describe in a person. But to your point, Marguerite, you see them in their legacy and you see them in their relationships with others, and that's certainly something that we've enjoyed for a long time with Charlotte. There's a passion there. There's a grace in how the position is run, because so much of it is, from my perspective, it's shifting gears. One moment you're dealing with an air conditioning problem in the building, and the next moment you're discussing something with a patron, and then you're off to a meeting with the Minuteman network about something. And I see in all the candidates, they obviously enjoy their roles that they have. But for me, the candidate that I found to be best suited to take over this role for us was Clayton Cheever. I found, for a lot of the same reasons that Sarah and Marguerite have spoken about already, but I lived in Quincy for a while and saw that community changing considerably, as we're experiencing here now in Norwood as well. And the way that he views inclusivity, the way that he talks about individuals, I have a sense that there's a deep level of respect for everyone he deals with, from his staff to the people he reports to his board, and to all the patrons. And I kind of see that pattern in his history, and that makes me think about how he can use those strengths and help us move forward and kind of continue on this path and on our mission, and really leave us in, provide those hands that we need to guide us forward. So I feel that he's my number one pick.
Right. So, staying with the same.
So I think you're up to me.
I am.
I agree with my fellow board members that all of the candidates that reach this stage have the experience, they have the training, they have the knowledge, they have the passion, they have all the qualities that are sort of, you have to have those to get anywhere. They all check all the individual small boxes that we developed along the way. So I tried to boil things down to what I thought were two balancing acts that any librarian needs to be able to master. One is the balance between stewardship, keeping the regular things going well, and improvements, finding new things to do that are worthy of the library and will add to its strengths. That's one of them. The other is the balancing act between process and results. You can get very impressive results, but if you're bullying your way through, then you may not be able to do that for very long. And you can be thoroughly respectful of process and essentially be overwhelmed by gridlock. So there's a balancing act there as well. I thought all of the candidates touched all four of those boxes too. But what I heard from in the interviews from the candidates led me to the belief that my first choice is Jamie Viveros.
All right. Donna?
Everybody is so profound about this that I don't think I can add much. I choose Clayton Cheever as well for all the reasons that were previously stated. I leaned highly towards Jamie, but in the end, I liked Clayton, just as everyone said, his enthusiasm, his knowledge, his the way he presented himself just impressed me.
Okay. Well, it looks like, if I could, you have some consensus around Clayton Cheever. So I think at this point, the next step would be if someone wants to make a motion to recommend Clayton Cheever to the general manager as a selection of the trustees as the next library director, and ask that the general manager work to take the necessary steps to hire him to the position.
I'm thinking that since I was the only person who didn't offer him as first choice, that it would be good in the long run if I made the motion to make it clear to anyone that I am fully on board with this choice as well. And so I hereby move that we recommend Clayton Cheevers as the next library director and take those steps required to implement that recommendation.
John, I think as board chair, that would be a real proper that you are the one that does that.
Okay. All right. So you need a second, John. Looks like you have.
I see Sarah volunteering.
Sarah volunteered.
I will happily second the motion to offer Clayton Cheever the position after working with the town manager.
Okay. All right. John, it's up to you now to ask for a vote.
Okay, we're going to vote on the motion. I'll take them in seniority, if you will. Ms. Begg.
Aye.
Marguerite.
Aye.
Ms. Montgomery.
Aye.
The new kid, George.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Excellent. All right. I will let the candidates know, and I will let the manager know. And at this point, I think we're done. But let me just say, it's been a pleasure working with all of you on this process. Charlotte.
I just want to say
Likewise.
that the way that I believe what will happen at this point is Molly Keene and Tony Mizuko will put together an offer letter, and Clayton will need to accept that offer before anything goes forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So hopefully we're done, but we'll let them take those necessary steps. Charlotte, I can work with you if I need to on that, I assume?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Casey wasn't on this call, but she'll be writing up the minutes.
Okay.
And for the record, our sixth trustee, Leah O'Leary, was not a participant in all of this because she has been rather seriously under the weather.
I think Marguerite.
Donna?
Or Donna?
All right, I just had an update. Somebody texted me about Leah. She is now in rehab, so she's recovering.
That's good news. Thank you.
Right.
Marguerite, you had a point?
I would just like to thank everybody for coming together and working so hard on this. It's been a great process. And of course, Charlotte, it's been a very bittersweet process.
Well, yes.
It's going to be hard to say goodbye to you.
It's becoming very real.
And it's going to be very, very difficult to say goodbye to you in this time of COVID.
Well, and I want to do everything I can to make Clayton successful. So you might, Bernie, if you would let him know that I'd be more than willing to start, because I think what's going to happen is there's not going to be any overlap at all of official employment, probably, I imagine. So I want to make sure that he knows that we can sit and talk, and he's got some amazing leadership at the library, from Casey through everybody to, so I'm sure it's going to go very well.
Yep. I will let him know that, and I have all of your phone numbers, so I'll give him all of those.
You have yours. Yeah. And Bernie, thank you once again. We couldn't have come this far this quickly without your expertise and without your kindness and without your sense of humor. That brought us a long way. Thank you very much.
Very well. Again, it's been a pleasure doing that, working with you and getting this accomplished. I have a soft spot in my heart for Norwood, and it's been a pleasure really being part of this. So
we'll see you around the stacks.
I'll be there. All right. All right. I'm going to head off now, and I guess you just need a motion.
I think we need a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Sarah, who's second?
I'll second
Marguerite seconds. Okay. I think we can just all wave our hands and say we are all in favor of adjourning.
Sounds good.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thank you.